Welcome back to the Fit Mind, Fit Body podcast, special Gone Nuts series. It's time for a monthly update from one of our intrepid Gone Nuts athletes. How has their training gone? What are they thinking about with the event just around the corner? And what are they learning about themselves? All these questions and more will be answered in the next 15 minutes. In this episode, we're checking in with Anna Speirs to see how her training's going for the Gone Nuts Challenge. Today on Fit Mind, Fit Body, we are getting stuck into yet another catch-up with one of our Gone Nuts athletes. I've used all kinds of words like victims and volunteers, but we're going to go with athlete because that sounds better. Anna, how are you all the way from Broome?
I am very well, thanks. Thanks for having me back.
I am so excited to hear what's going on. Everyone else, the other, like there's 8 people that I talk to now once a month. The rest of them are here in Tassie. So it's really interesting to hear how you're going up there, especially in Broome where there's not, I've been there. Doesn't seem to be a lot of mountains in your immediate vicinity.
No. I think this chat will be quite different to the ones that you may have already had, or just at least a different running experience over the last month.
So tell me, what's been going on? How's your training gone?
It's been awful.
Great, that's awesome. That's what I want to hear. We did have the first one. He was injured, so it can't be. Oh yeah,
I'm not injured. It's just been a really, really tough month. Almost to the day from when I spoke to you, because I just remember I was speaking to a friend and talking about the podcast and how it's quite exciting and what happened, and she'd said something along the lines of, well, how great you must be feeling since you started running, like how much better and sleeping better and healthier you feel. Like, tell me about that. And then I sort of had this like really moment where I was like, oh, I think I feel categorically worse than I did 3 months ago. I'm always tired. I've got no energy to do the things I want. My entire world is monopolized by running at the moment. And it just really made me stop and sort of think. And I had this mini let's call it a mini breakdown in the middle of the local coffee place that we go to. And and so it just made me really reflect. It's been a pretty awful couple of months, actually. But I'm laughing about it now because
I'm sorry to hear that.
I'm laughing about it now because, like, in actual things that count, life is fantastic. All of that is going really well, but in regards to the running and sort of enjoying it and the plan of how I was going to feel, that hasn't happened.
Yeah, it's really interesting that you say that, because for me, I look around and I'm like, why do more people not stick at running, for example? Mm. And it's a really good example of, you actually being raw and vulnerable. It's not fun all the time. In fact, I planned it to be fun. In my head, it's fun. Come out and do it, and actually I'm not finding it fun. And how do I deal with that? Do I just get used to it not being fun? Do I try and put things into it that I find more fun? So it's really interesting, and thank you for sharing that.
I think sort of ironically, the quote that got me into running, which was that, how privileged we are to be able to choose our own discomfort, I thought would be really motivating for me. But in actual fact, it's had the opposite effect, because I'm like, well, I am incredibly privileged. Why am I choosing this? Like, I can do anything else in the world. I should. Like, why should I be running? But I have been sticking to it. I'm still running. A lot of it is like physically I've been fine. I haven't got any niggles, no injuries. I'm not like body fatigued per se after the runs. It's just my mental game. It's pretty weak.
Yeah, that's really interesting. Like, for a lot of people, once we get past, doing the 5s and 10s and even halves, it actually is really a mental game, like the whole thing, because that consistency that we need, and you could extrapolate to the rest of your life as well, because the consistency that you need to be successful in whatever endeavor that we pursue requires us to get through that uncomfortableness, that feeling that this isn't what I was thinking it was going to be, and playing with those mental games, because you build it up that it's going to be this wonderful, hero moment or whatever in certain points. And when it's not, there's that disappointment or whatever. And how do you deal with that? It's interesting conversations.
Because running's never been my thing that I've done for enjoyment. It was always every other sport has been my outlet. If I was wanting to move my body or feeling some mental health things, it was always movement but never running. But now I've sort of replaced running with almost everything in my life, and because it's so hot up here, it does take me out for the whole day. I then don't have sort of energy to do anything else besides work, so then I'm not, I wasn't taking the dog for those really long evening walks by the beach, which I really enjoyed because me and the dog are both exhausted. I'm not catching up with friends on a Friday night because I was like, oh crap, I've got a 3-hour run the next day, better go to bed early, like let's not have those hot chips and beer because that's probably not the best nutrition. So it was I was adding something that I didn't particularly like into my life, and it was taking out everything else that I did enjoy. So we've done a whole circle. I've spoken to my coach, we've changed it around a little bit, and things are starting on the up again, which is
that's what I was going to ask you. Have you spoken to your coach about maybe doing slightly?
I know, and I feel she's fantastic. She's really great, and I feel bad because I essentially lied to her for probably 6 weeks about saying that I was coping and it was fine. And I did think for a while that maybe it was just me not loving running, and there was always some discomfort that was expected. But then I realized that I was actually starting to affect me all day. That I was parts of your life, exactly. And I was thinking about on Friday night that I've got, a run coming up, and I didn't want to do anything that was, it was just monopolizing everything that I was doing. So
wow, what a journey you've been on.
But physically feeling good, mental health, mental perspective is getting there.
So when you cross the line, when you finish a training run, how do you feel then? I know you said you feel tired and all that kind of stuff, but do you feel satisfied that you've done something that was on your training plan or whatever, you've completed another step? Is there any kind of, do you give yourself that pat on the back or whatever for having achieved
and I think
that goal?
I'm stoked that I've done that run, but not because I've done it and I've moved my body and I've achieved that run. I'm stoked because it's done, and that I can tick that run off the list for the week, and then almost straight away I'm focusing on what's the next one. And that was the easy 60, and no, I've got the tempo coming up tomorrow or something. So I was talking to my partner a lot about it, and he was like, you need to sort of more acknowledge the feelings that you're having and not judge them.
I like that. Yes,
a little bit kinder to myself. And I was getting upset as well because from looking from a time and a distance perspective, I was feeling a lot stronger and doing so much better a couple of months ago. And now even my easy runs are really difficult. And my tempo runs now are sort of what my easy runs were.
Yeah.
And then we did the calculations, realized that it's like 20 plus degrees difference in heat that I'm running.
I was going to say that the temperature must play a big factor. Oh my gosh.
I knew that, but I didn't. I need to be. I'm being kinder to myself. I'm understanding that a little bit more, and trying to which was the whole point of this, was to enjoy the process and see what I can do. So I think I got a little competitive for a while there and really wanted to smash out these great runs and great times, and realize that that's just not going to be possible, not if I want to keep my own sanity and enjoy the things that I love doing.
And if your overall goal is to complete the event,
was to finish it. Yeah, exactly.
Unless you actually want to win, whatever, then you do need to go out and do.
Well, I'm sure the competitive person in me, of course, wants to win, but the actual capacity for me to do that is not there. No.
So the goal,
realistic
the
expectations. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I think I'm a better person now than I was maybe 3 weeks ago. I'm learning to enjoy it again.
Oh, I'm glad to hear that. Although it really is a reality check, as I said before, for everybody to realize that actually there are seasons in our running. Like I've been running for 30 years, and there have been periods in that 30 years where it really was a love-hate relationship at times. I had to really kick myself to get out, and there were periods where I might not run for a week, and then I'd feel bad as well. So that there was no, I didn't want to run. When I didn't run, I still felt bad, because I didn't run. So it was kind of that not fun place to be. So the sooner you can work on that head stuff, the better off you're going to be. It doesn't matter what you do, I think, in life. I think it has a knock-on effect. As you said, it's having a negative knock-on effect. It can also have positive knock-on effect.
Yeah, I just want to get to that point.
So what kind of training have you been doing? You said it's been your coach has adjusted a bit. What sort of things has he done to make it easier?
I've dropped a session, and I have essentially dropped another session that's gone to more of a cross training. So go for a purposeful swim, go for a purposeful bike ride, something like that, versus having to run
all the time.
But that's only it's actually only been since last week. Okay. So and I'm about to say I've done everything so far in my program, but I actually didn't do this morning. So oopsies.
Nobody knows that.
She's running now at the moment. She's doing the Kosciuszko miler, 100 miler. So she won't listen to this.
Yeah, no, she won't. No, she's too busy.
Yeah.
Are you doing anything like listening to stuff? I don't know if I asked you that in the first episode.
No, I'm not good at that. Okay. And it's hypocritical of me because I would say that to so many of my clients that I deal with from a physio perspective, that it's not just looking after about, your physical self. You have to approach it from a holistic perspective. But I'm very good at saying it and very poor at taking it on.
I know. I just know for me, like, as I said, I'm aging myself a lot, but all these years of running, some of the things that have motivated me to want to get out, not for the run. When I'm having a time where I'm like, I don't want to run, then I have to have something else that motivates me to want to do the run, apart from feeling good at the end, glad that I did it, ticked it off, whatever. And sometimes that's exploring a new place. Like I'm a kind of adventurous person, want to see what's around the corner. Or it could be listening. That sort of said, why, do you listen to anything? Because sometimes there's a book I want to listen to, or a podcast.
I took it as listening to something more for mindfulness. Sorry.
Or you can do that too.
Yeah, no, that's what I'm very poor at. I haven't done anything from a mindfulness perspective to help me, which would be the one thing I should be doing. But like I said, I'm quite poor at doing that. But listening, no, I don't really listen to anything when I run, but I could try that.
I mean, you don't have to. It's just a strategy that you can.
Anything to distract my mind would be.
It can't hurt. If it doesn't work, you just take them out and put them in your.
Oh yeah, it's not really working now. So
like, it doesn't really matter. You're just giving it a go, and especially if there's something, you're interested in or whatever. That can be quite a because our lives are so busy that for me that's almost the only time I get to download some of the information that I'm interested in. So I quite enjoy it personally.
Yeah, I should give it a go. I did from our last chat. I have now tried a night run because you gave me that idea that I should probably try that.
How did that go?
Same as all the other runs. I did it.
It would have been cooler, hopefully.
You'd really think. It's not. It's really not.
No.
And I think the other reason I got so upset recently with running is that I had a weekend in Perth planned, and it was going to be my long run, and it was looking really good weather, and I couldn't wait. And I was like, this is going to be maybe a little bit more like what running should feel like. I rocked up in Perth and it was 38 degrees. And I did this run for just under 3 hours in awful heat. And just couldn't believe it, that this was the one time it was meant to feel good or different. And anyway, maybe I will be stronger after this. Who knows?
You're way ahead of me. Like this weekend is the first time I'm doing anything over an hour and a half. I actually might have done an hour 45 a few weeks ago, but I'm doing 2 hours this weekend. So
it sounds like you've got a much stronger base than I have, though.
I don't know.
A fair few years.
Not for necessarily these long distances with these hilly things called mountains. Yeah.
Oh yeah, I don't have any of those, remember.
So the other thing, and I'm sure your coach is thinking about all that stuff, and that is like you're doing the cross training, but lots of strength kind of work can replace some of those other,
I've always liked strength. That's something I've done for a while. So I've been having at least a couple of strengths in there already. So I have picked up an extra strength this week because I dropped a running.
Yeah.
But I also overdid it a little bit on the gym on Wednesday, so I've got really bad DOMs at the moment, which is why I didn't really do the run this morning. So I'm all over the place. Hopefully next time we chat, I've got my ducks in a row a little bit better. But
that would be boring. No, it's much more interesting to hear what your challenges are at the moment. it reminds me, I don't know if it was you that I talked to you about this, someone recently on the podcast. I think it must have been a Commonwealth Games where an Australian woman won the marathon in like Malaysia or somewhere. I want to say it was probably before you were born. But I remember an article about her, or a television program, where she said she trained for that humidity by putting all the pots on the stove and training on a treadmill in the kitchen, because she had kids and stuff as well. So she closed all the windows, and that's how she trained for those conditions. And I'm thinking, can you put a treadmill like in a fridge or something?
Yeah. I had an ice bath the other day, which was glorious. First time I felt cold in months. It was beautiful. We do have planned a 50-kilometer run in a couple of weeks.
Yeah.
My partner and I. So that it's going to be in Perth, and it's around Christmas time, which is notoriously hot, but it could be cooler, and I'm hoping it's gonna make or break me, I really feel. Maybe I'm putting too much pressure on it, but we'll see. Next time we chat as well.
Just got to take it easy, breathe a bit.
Yeah, and we're making it a family affair, so everyone's coming for it's three laps. So some people are walking a lap, some people are coming and jogging a lap with us. We'll have some, food and a bit of music and all that at the end. So it'll be a mini festival. The Speirs Burke 50K. With two
that could become a thing.
Yeah, I know, exactly.
Become a thing. It sounds like a proper event, doesn't it? It's awesome. Okay, so with all that being said, the coming month, how are you going to plan for all those things? Well, you've got to travel down to Perth. Sounds like you've already travelled down there at least once since I talked to you last.
Yes, did one trip down. So we leave on the 22nd for Perth, and I think we've timed it quite well. So we're sort of tapering at the moment.
Yeah.
Do the run just before Christmas.
Mm-hmm.
That week of Christmas is, minimal running, lots of family time, lots of food, alcohol, fun, all of that. And then fueling, great word, yeah. And then a gradual increase back again come the new year.
Okay. And so you're not worried about the extra festivities? I know you were saying before, somebody asked me out to go on a Friday, and it's a bit challenging because I think I've got to get up early in the morning. I just won't go. So
no. The priority over Christmas running will be on the bottom
rung of that.
Absolutely, yeah. I'm not factoring. I will hopefully do some runs in that time, and it would be nice if I recover well from the 50K to maybe do a slightly longer run and get some hill training in again. But if I'm not feeling it, I'm not going to be doing it. I've already, like I said, I've been sad for the last 3 weeks. I'm not prolonging this feeling any longer. So
what do you think you're most worried about? Probably not the best way to put it. Yeah. Is it what your mindset, how you're thinking about it and feeling about it? Is that what you're most worried about going forward?
I'm not worried about the race at all. I think if I can get to the start line, I'll do it, bar a major injury. I'm actually quite looking forward to it, because I think I will allow myself a lot more. Be like, it's 100 kilometers, walk. Exactly. I'll allow myself to feel that a lot more than what I'm doing now. I think it's the comparison, what I'm struggling with what I'm running now and what I was a few months ago, when I was getting a little bit of fitness and maybe starting to enjoy a couple of runs, and was like, oh, I'm actually doing okay. And now I was feeling
awful. Feel like you've taken a lot of steps back.
Yeah, and I was like, well, why am I doing this? But all I'm doing is feeling terrible. But I think now I've just got to realize that it's because I'm running in incredible heat and humidity. I'm still working full time. I'm not doing the things I like, so of course you're going to feel sad and upset, and that my whole life is running. So I've actively tried to change that mindset, and hopefully the next month is going to go really nicely.
And it is technically just for a short period of your life. Unless you choose to take it on. Maybe you won't if you stay in Broome, I'm not sure. You have a goal, and that being able to stick to that goal, which is to complete the race, and being prepared to go through all the hard stuff to get there.
I just thought I would also be a bit mentally stronger than I appear to be.
The fact that you're talking to me now means you are actually a lot mentally stronger than you think. Because otherwise you could have given up. As you said, you could give up.
Yeah, like, very true. You could give up.
It's a choice.
I'm hoping I'm just verbalizing it a lot more, and it's really not as bad as I think, and I'm sure that if I was really actively unhappy, yes, I would have stopped or changed things, but it's just sometimes a big sort of, what am I doing? Why?
It's making that goal more.
And my why is not really making sense to me anymore. So I think I need to come up with a new why.
That's a very, like, what does that goal mean to you?
Yeah.
Of crossing the line. What does that mean to you?
I've got to change that. I haven't got the answer to that now, because originally it was how fortunate am I to be able to choose my own discomfort, and this is what I've chosen to do. But I still believe in that, but it's not working for me. So I've got to think
more personal, perhaps.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. How you feel about yourself.
Too grandeur for me. Yeah.
I mean, there are a lot of people. I don't want to teach you all of this stuff. It sounds so silly, but things like journaling and that kind of stuff, till you come up with what are you going to feel like, or even taking yourself down that mental game. I do a lot of business stuff, and so I have a lot of that stuff in my head. When a lot of that is, where do you want your business to be, and so you journal about it and you write what it's like when you cross. So for you, write down, what does it feel like when you imagine you've already crossed the line and you've been through whatever it is, 16, 17, whatever it takes you hours to get across that line, 10, whatever, it doesn't matter. But that it's not going to be easy. How do you feel when you've actually accomplished that? And just embodying that while you're writing it down, and then going back and reading that on a regular basis. Like, they're the kind of things they teach us in personal development stuff for business.
Yeah.
So it works all areas of our lives when we're trying to achieve something where the goal seemed pretty strong when we first started, and then starts to fade a bit when the reality of getting there for us personally, it is starting to feel a bit challenging. It's trying to tap into those emotions, because it's all up here. As you've alluded to lots of times in this chat.
Yeah, I call it my noodle brain. It just feels like a big old bunch of cooked ramen noodles in my head at the moment. There's no structure to it. There's no strength, but maybe it'll come.
Look, they're just thoughts. We don't have to listen to them. That's
I think I just need to acknowledge them and not judge them.
Yeah, I know you're there. Off you go. Yeah. I even mentioned this once on the podcast. A life coach that I follow is really anxious. She's a really anxious person, and it has never gone. Like, just because she's a, world-class life coach doesn't mean she doesn't get up in the morning regularly and have this, really bad anxiety. And she says, like you just said, she'll acknowledge it and just say, okay, I know you're there today, but, I'm just not going to pay any attention to you. She doesn't get angry about it. She doesn't give it any emotion or anything. She just, acknowledges it's there and gets on with whatever she was going to do. So we can all learn stuff. It's not easy.
But that's the plan. It's mainly in the longer runs where that happens. And it's funny, because I'm really good at pushing myself in sprint training. It was so easy for me to really get to the point where I had, it was great. And then to get to that lactic point and to be, I'm sure it was only 100-meter sprint repeats, but I was able to go and finish the set, no problem, and feel great afterwards. But the tempo sessions here, just because they're that little bit longer, I really struggle to push through those. But we'll see.
You will. I think it's awesome. Yeah. Thank you so much for sharing all this, Anna. It really is amazing. It's so. I don't want to say it's refreshing to hear someone talk about it. It's so because the previous people are all been like, oh, no, it's been wonderful. Actually, not all of them, but it's great to hear how it's going for you, and it'll be really exciting to hear you turn a corner in the next few weeks, because I'm sure it'll happen.
Yeah, because now I'm just hitting that brick wall, so a little turn left or right would be great.
I mean, the reality is it'll always be hard, because we're not doing an easy thing. Otherwise, everybody would do it.
Yeah, I think I've got to acknowledge that a lot more than I have been.
Yeah,
and also be just really recognizing the heat up here as well.
I think that, to me, I don't know if I could do what you're doing. I did go for some runs in Broome when we were there. They were not very far. Like, maybe it was doing like 5K or something. That was it. It's too hot, even first thing in the morning.
It does worry me if it's going to be a really cold day in Tassie, though.
I'm not going to say it won't be, but right now it's probably 24 or something. Feels quite well. Like 24 in Tassie's feels like, I have lived in Sydney, so it feels like about 26, 27 in Sydney. Like it feels hotter here. I don't know if it's because our the hole in the ozone layer apparently is bigger here. So
yes, true, yeah.
Anyway, I don't really know. It just feels hotter here, even when the temperature's not that high on what it says. But of course, it's also I've been camping in November, got sunburnt, woken up the next morning in the tent and been in a snow blizzard. So it's changeable.
Yeah, I'm just trying to check what it says about Broome at the moment. My phone's been too slow, so I can't.
I bet you it says, I don't know, 40 something.
Well, it's always the temperatures in the low 30s, but the feels like is where it
goes up. Yeah.
Whereas
our feels like is usually lower than what it says our temperature is.
There we go. Feels like 39.
Ugh. Sweet. Nah. You could do water. How hot is the water?
Balmy.
Okay.
I don't know temperature wise.
Put a water belt on.
Well, we can't go in the ocean at the moment because it's not recommended. I did swim this morning, but it was just a quick little tea bag in and out. But there is the public pool, but it's also so busy this time of year as well.
Yeah, not fun.
I'm just a really big bag of complaining at the moment. I will be more positive next month, I promise.
It's absolutely fine. It's good even. It's good to have something to work through. If everyone's all like sunshine and roses all the time, then that's not really displaying what it's like
True.
All the time for everyone. So,
but the important things in life are I'm very, very lucky to have. So I should be focusing on those more and not just the one thing in my life that's not particularly, 100%.
And that even though you're not enjoying it at the moment, you're going to keep going because the drive for whatever that is, even though you can't necessarily quite grasp it, is strong enough to keep it going.
Absolutely. Yeah. So, I would be surprised. Yeah, I think the only thing that would take me out would be injury.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah.
I'm very stubborn. And I'm on a podcast. I can't not turn up for the next month.
Right. Now this is like the
end
accountability.
Of the race discussion. No. Even if I walk the whole thing. I'm crawling if I have to. Yeah.
So you're excited. What would be exciting you for the next month in relation to your training? Is there anything that excites you?
I'm interested to see how I go on the 50.
Yeah.
What my mind does. And now that I'm a lot more aware that wasn't in the great place and I've got some tools to use and strategies, I'm interested to see how I go with that. Excited? No. Intrigued? Yes.
You might be excited after you've done whatever it is.
Yeah, that's one ticked off and I only have to do double that distance plus 3Ks. What is it? Well,
at least, yeah. That's right. All right. Is there anything else about your training and your upcoming training you want to share before we tie this little catch up off?
I don't think so. I did speak to a nutritionist because I thought that was a big issue that and it was great, but it was also bad because I was doing everything fine from a nutrition perspective. So I was really kind of hoping for this sort of epiphany that I was drastically under-calorizing or, this was the issue but that's not the case. So we've adjusted a little bit more protein in the afternoons. So this was only last week. So we'll see how that goes. But I think it was good to sort of clear things from a physical perspective, make sure that, and I've done the whole bloods and things I was
just going to ask that because I've had iron problems, which hit me like a brick when I was running at one point.
No, unfortunately, I'm all fine from a physical perspective. I can't blame that.
It's all in my head.
They're all in my head.
No, I think it's the humidity as well. I reckon it's
we'll blame Broome.
Yeah.
I'm perfect. It's Broome's the problem.
It's Broome. And none of it's a problem. It's all just a little hill to overcome.
Exactly. It's the experience, it's a process, and that's
Yeah. I love it. It just adds to the texture of it all. It's wonderful. Thank you so much for sharing. Don't go straight away, but again, massive thank you for being so vulnerable and sharing all the warts and all of what it's like to train for an ultra. Appreciate it.
No, not a problem. More to come, I'm sure.
And we will talk to you next month. And just like that, we're another step closer to the start line. Big thanks to our runners for sharing their progress and to you for cheering them on. remember it's the journey, not just the destination, that shapes us. Keep supporting our crew as they push towards that start line. And if you're enjoying this series, we would love to hear from you. Why not leave us a review and share the podcast with friends? Let's all go a little nuts together.